because we are Giulia Datola, Marco Rossitti, and Caterina Caprioli, and we are online. But of course, if
Okay.
some support in presence is needed, of course, please give the control of laptop and
No, because
whatever.
I was seeing this and this is in present, so I don't know.
Yes, this contribution is in presence, is presented by our colleague Giulio Cavana.
Okay, so this is in presence. Okay.
Yes,
The others
and
change.
the other contribution is online, but the order is changed according to some needs because we are also in other conference, so we change a little bit the order of the contribution.
Yeah. Okay. It's not a problem.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So if it's not a problem for the chair, for us it's not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
So
Okay, so we can start, I think.
yeah, I don't know if the chair is agree.
Yes, we are all present, so we can start. So, good morning to everyone. It is a pleasure to introduce our session called Building Multidimensional Models for Assessing Complex Environmental Systems that has been organized by me, by Vanessa Summa of University of Bologna, Caterina Caprioli of Politecnico di Torino, Federico Dell'Anna of Politecnico di Torino, Marta Dell'Ovo of Politecnico of Milan, and Marco Rossitti of Politecnico of Milan. Our session is focused on the presentation of several contributions, which is focused on illustrating and proposing different evaluation models. So, according to some needs to change the order, I think that we can move to the first contribution that is called Enhancing High-Speed Train Line Design, the role of multidimensional assessment tools, proposed by Alessandra Oppio and Marta Dell'Ovo, and it is presented now by Marta Dell'Ovo. So I give it to the floor to Marta.
Okay. Thank you very much, Giulia, and thank you also for the organization of the conference. I'm sorry that we are not going to be in presence, but we had also some overlap with other conferences. So we had to make the presentation online. I'm going to start sharing my presentation. If you can just tell me if you can see my screen.
Online,
Yes, we can see you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, as Giulia was introducing, this contribution has been developed by me and Professor Alessandra Oppio. This is a preliminary study, so we are not going to show you the whole application since it's still an ongoing process, and we have still to have some final results. So I'm going just to show you the methodological framework that we've been developing. So as you can see from the title, the idea is to compare different scenarios in order to understand which one is the more suitable for enhancing a line, a high-speed train line in the city of Brescia that is located nearby Milano, so in the Lombardy region. So I'm going to just show you the decision context, so in which kind of context we are located, but considering the pros and the cons that this kind of new intervention can generate, the objective of the role, why we decided to apply a multi-criteria decision analysis as a methodology for comparing scenarios. Then I'm going to show you all the approach that we've been developing, the case studies, some preliminary conclusion. So before starting understanding and developing this kind of methodological approach, we've been analyzing which are the pros and the cons of this kind of new intervention. So we can understand that actually by developing a new intervention for enhancing the high-speed line, we can produce several benefits. So of course, there is a matter of improving the accessibility, because of course we are going to improve and fasten the connection between different cities, and at the same time you can understand that we are going to decrease the vehicular traffic, so at the same time you're going to have a positive impact on the environment. But at the same time there could be generation of several negative also impact. So for what concern, for example, that there is going to be inequalities among the different territorial contexts that are going to be not connected by this kind of train. So there are going to be some socioeconomic conflicts and also territorial inequalities for what concern the distribution of the connection of this kind of high-speed train. If we are going to focus, especially in the Italian context, we can see that actually it is a very successful example of connection, because as you can understand, we are going to have a reduction, as I told you, about the travel times. Especially nowadays, we can see that, especially in Italy, you have the possibility of living in a city and going to work in another one while traveling in the same city. So there are going to be some negative
Sorry, but we don't hear you no more.
Probably they have some connection issues, so
Yeah,
we can wait a few minutes.
yeah. I don't know.
Is there something wrong?
No, I think it's a bad connection from the. No, no, it's always okay. No, no,
Okay.
no, it's okay. Is something wrong with the?
Oh, no, no, no,
No, no,
no.
no. It's
Okay.
always okay. Just
You
one
didn't
thing.
hear anything,
No, just,
so I can.
just one thing. Now we have this, but now we are presenting this, but I don't know why they are here, not alone.
They are in the wrong.
Yeah, I think so. But she told me that I have multiple conference, and so she are presenting. It's
Can you
okay.
remind me that?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I-
we can hear you.
yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So I was just explaining which are the pros and the cons of having this kind of new intervention in the overall context, and also especially in the Italian context. So I was explaining the reduction of the travel times. Also, there are some positive impact on the economic context, and also, of course, on the environmental impact for what concerns the sustainability and the reduction of CO2 emission given by the reduction of the vehicular traffic. And at the same time, there are some negative impact that are going to be the disparities of the connection, because of course this kind of high-speed line are not going to connect the old cities that are in Italy or in the general context, but the main cities. And at the same time, also this kind of new intervention, especially during the construction, are going to have an impact also on the environment. So we can understand that there are some pros and cons that should be analyzed when we have to do this kind of complex projects. So that is why we are going to now focus on these the objective of the work. So by giving this overall context, we can better understand that in order to exploit and to better deal with this complexity, it is important to use a methodology that is able to take into consideration multidimensional aspects and also multi-stakeholder interests, because of course there are different actors that are going to be involved in this kind of processes. So that is why we are going to now going on this on the presentation of our methodological framework that is aimed to assess alternative scenario aiming to implementing the existing high-speed train network in the city of Brescia by considering, as I told you, multidimensional perspective. So why is it important to use a multi-criteria decision analysis? Because of course we are going to take into consideration several factors: economic, environmental, social. We need the possibility of using both quantitative and qualitative metrics. So it is important to take into consideration tangible and intangible values, and also take the perspective of several stakeholders that could be involved in the process. So this is the overall methodological approach. So you can see that before we've been analyzing in detail the problem. So the context, which are the actors involved. After that, we've been doing several meetings with the actors in order to frame our value tree, because the value tree has been generated together with the different actors involved, the administration, so both private and public. After that, we move to the part of the aggregation, so by taking into consideration, as I told you, qualitative and quantitative criteria, and then the sensitivity analysis has some recommendation. As I told you, this is a preliminary study, so it's an ongoing process. So I'm not going to show you the results, but I'm going to show you the complexity of the evaluation framework. So this is that's to give you an idea about the context, so where we are located. So we need to take into consideration that this kind of high-speed line is going to be a very facilitation for connecting in detail Milano also with the city of Venice, so for connecting several regions. So it's a matter of improving a lot the quality of the current condition of the connection. So this is the evaluation framework. We've been dividing in three different dimensions. So we have the social, the environmental, and the technical economic. As I told you before, it is a matter of taking into consideration both the positive but also the negative impact that this kind of project can generate. So as you can see, for what concerns the social, we are taking into consideration the needs of the population, because by having this new additional line, of course, it is going to have a negative impact on the existing building that are located nearby the existing train line. So it means that some people that are living nearby this line should be relocated. So they have to leave their residential places to move in another place. So you can understand that it's going to generate a lot of disparities, a lot of negative impact, especially on the social dimension. So that is why it's a very delicate and a very important and a crucial aspect that should be taken into consideration, because while it is going to generate a very important impact on the Italian context, we do not have disregard the local and the negative impact also on families that are living nearby that kind of area. So we have to, let's say, to define a very important balance and trade-off among all the different dimensions that are involved. So as you can see, for what concerns the social dimension, we are taking into consideration which are the people involved, which are the properties that should be also, some of them should be change, should be also demolished. So it is important to take into consideration also the cost for relocating that kind of people in other places, and also the visual impact of the building that are going to be still there during the construction and after the construction of the new line. So of course it is going to have an impact also for the quality of the overall environmental context. For what concerns the environment, we are taking into consideration some issue that could be generated during the construction, so vibrancy, the noise, the air quality that is going to have also an important and a negative impact, and also after the construction. So we are going to consider different time for doing our analysis. So as you can see, the dust, the traffic, the land, the consumption, and then also some technical and economic issue. So the time for realizing the project, some interferences on the rail services, so the current one, because of course for doing this kind of work, we have to stop the current connection for several times. So it is going to generate a negative impact also on the overall current condition, and also the cost for implementing this kind of work. This is just to give you an idea about how the different criteria have been measured. So this is just an example of how we've been generating our evaluation fact sheet. So for each criteria, we've been defining which is the overall objective, why it is important to be analyzed, and also the performance score. And sometimes, as I told you, it is a matter of measuring a quantitative unit of measurement. In other cases, it was more creating an index or maybe a qualitative scale. So in this case, for what concerns the visual impact, we've been generating an index that is going to measure the distance between the current places of the residential places and the fence that is going to be realized for the new intervention. For example, for the land consumption, we've been analyzing and creating a qualitative scale. So this is just to give you an idea about how the evaluation framework is going to take into consideration both quantitative metrics and qualitative metrics. And then just to go to the conclusion, because as I told you, this is just to give you an idea about the complexity of the problem, but we are still working on this issue. I just would like to underline which are the main limitation and the future perspective of the work. So as you can understand, I think that it is important to analyze the project according to a multi-criteria decision analysis, since we have the possibility of taking into consideration several aspects and also to involve and engage several stakeholders. At the same time, we are aware that this kind of project is very well suited for and tailored for the context of Brescia. So in case we should replicate the analysis, of course, we have to maybe modify some indexes and some criteria. And also it's a matter sometimes of availability of data. So that is why sometimes we have to change the way in which we were measuring some criteria. Some future perspective of this work is that maybe, since it is an important and a complex problem that should be replicated maybe in other contexts, maybe we can reproduce and replicate the analysis on other and several contexts. We can also, since it is a territorial analysis, maybe we can combine this multi-criteria analysis with some other issues, some other tools, for example, the GIS or remote sensing, in order to detect in a more flexible way some data. And also could be interesting not only to evaluate the project, to compare several scenarios nowadays, but to understand which could be the impact of this kind of project in a longer term, in a longer period, in order to understand if some objective that we would like to achieve now actually have been achieved. So it is important also to understand which is the future impact of this kind of important and very crucial and strategic intervention on the Italian context. So thank you very much. I'm sorry for the connection of the issue that we had before.
Thank you very much, Marta. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation, and also for the time, respecting the time, because today we have a lot of contribution to be presented. I don't know if there are any question in the room in presence.
For the room, no.
Okay, so I have a curiosity, if I can. Have you already thought about the multi-criteria method to be used for the case study, or do you think many multi-criterial method can be used for this case?
No, actually, for the moment, we are using because we already have done some application, because we are waiting actually for the weight system that the stakeholders, the administration should deliver. So that is why I'm not going to show you the results. So for the moment, we are using a very basic weighted sum methodology, so an additive methodology, in order to take into consideration pros and cons of the different aspects. And for what concerns the methodology used for the weight system, we were using a smarter method. So that is the idea of this moment. Then, according to also the preliminary results, maybe we can also compare several and other multi-criteria methodologies. But for the moment, we are using a very basic one, because also it's a matter of timing, and it's also a matter of communication of the results with the stakeholders. So that is why we are keeping the problem as simple as possible.
Okay, I understand, and I totally agree. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Marta, for the clarification and the interesting presentation. Now I think we can move to the second contribution. Again, there are some changing. Sorry for the in presence people, but we are in different conferences, so we have different problem in terms of planes and rooms and so on. So sorry for this changing. So the second contribution is presented by Giulia Datola, and is proposed by Alessandra Oppio, Giulia Datola, Tuna Ozguz, Damla Ozgur, and Leopoldo Sdino. And
Sorry, Caterina, but I don't think there is in the room E, I think, or not, or maybe
no. There are also these change. The organization knows these changes, but in the in the platform and in the website is not changed. But there are also these. Sorry for these these changes. Sorry very much.
No, only because they not communicate to us. So only
there are these. We are directly in contact with the organization. So we can move to this second contribution that is entitled "Innovating Urban System Through Network-Based Solution for a Circular Economy and Enchainment: A General Framework." I don't know if Giulia is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I switch off the camera in order to avoid the connection problem.
Thank
Can
you.
you see my screen?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the introduction, and sorry again for this changing the program. But as Caterina told, we are in parallel several conferences, so I'm really sorry. Whatever. Today I illustrating this contribution that is proposed by Professor Alessandra Oppio, by me, by Tuna Otkus, Damla Otgur, and Leopoldo Sdino. And in this research, we present a methodological framework in order to collect nature-based solution for circular economy, and within the framework of their assessment. And I would like to underline that is an ongoing research. So today we will illustrate the basic methodological framework at the basis of this research. So this research focuses and explore the relationship between the nature-based solution within the circular economy paradigm with the implementation in the urban system. Moreover, we would like to understand and discuss if the evaluation of the nature-based solution in the perspective of circular economy is explored within a focus on urban system. Therefore, for this purpose, we analyze all the available framework of nature-based solution in the literature in order to underline and understand if there is gaps or lack. In fact, this research and this analysis allows to understand that many lacks and criticalities are present in this topic. Therefore, we would like to propose a new framework in order to collect the nature-based solution according to their different implementation scale in urban system, in order to provide also useful guidelines in order to understand and define the useful evaluation framework. Moreover, this proposed framework is here illustrated within a focus on urban agriculture nature-based solution in order to illustrate and underline which are the possible practical implications for decision maker and also professionists in order to apply it. So this is the presentation outline. So we will introduce our research within our research question. Therefore, we pass to the analysis of the concept of circular economy in order to understand what it means in implication and application in urban system, as well as we would like to underline what is the relationships of nature-based solution with circular cities, and therefore we illustrate the result of our analysis of existing catalog of nature-based solution, and therefore we will present our proposed framework with some conclusion and future perspective. So our basic context of the research is the fact that now we are in the context of climate change, so cities are facing with several risks and stresses, and for this purpose several concepts has been introduced in order to avoid this problem or to face within these problems, such as urban resilience and sustainable cities. Moreover, in these recent years, the paradigm of circular economy has been introduced and integrated with the paradigm of nature-based solution in the urban system. So we would like to explore this relationship within a focus on nature-based solution assessment topic. So our research questions are two. Is this relationship between nature-based solution and circular economy clearly described and discussed in literature? And moreover, how the evaluation of nature-based solution within circular economy perspective has been addressed? Are some framework proposed or method provided, some guidelines? Therefore, to respond to these main research question, we firstly provide and propose a literature review of circular economy definition and principle in order to clarify what circular economy means in urban system with the focus of nature-based solution. Therefore, we also analyze the existing framework in order to identify lacks and challenge, and therefore we propose our methodological framework. So for what concerns the concept of circular economy, we can say that is an umbrella definition and umbrella concept within main definition, but we can describe it as a paradigm and the process to pursue an economic growth model within the limits consumption of resources and reduce the environmental impact. In order, we can describe the circular economy within three main pillars: already regenerate natural capital, maintain resources use, and also eliminate waste externality. Therefore, the circular economy was the implementation of economic system that aiming at minimize waste and also improve the recycling of resources. So the main challenge of implementation the circular economy in the paradigm of urban system can be grouped in two main categories: already preserving natural resources by reducing their import, and also minimizing waste production by using resources in cycles. So we can say that the implementation of the circular economy paradigm requires a change approach through which the society and the human society interconnects with nature. So Within this basic concept, we can introduce the nature-based solution that are in nature and other solutions inspired by nature, which are cost-effective, environmental, and socio-economic benefits. So nature-based solutions are really linked with the paradigm of circular economy according to the changing of the paradigm through which community interconnect with cities, because nature-based solutions are also connected with the ecosystem approach, management of natural resources such as soil, water, and biodiversity. So in this sense, the implementation of nature-based solution can maximize the interaction between nature, society, and economy. And moreover, we can say these important things, that the nature-based solutions are considered within a circular economy and urban innovation system because they provide an integrated urban development. So according to the existing of this real interconnection between nature-based solution and circular economy in urban system, we would like to understand if these relationships is really understood and discussed in the framework. So in this table, we can have the list of the most important framework of nature-based solution proposed by European project, and we compare them according to their providing of nature-based solution definition, the references to nature-based solution and circular economy, and if they provide some assessment tool within the framework of circular economy according to social, economic, and environmental impact. As we can see, we can say that these frameworks and catalogs provide not homogeneous information, because only three define in clearly way what
I think there are some connection problem.
Yes, I think a few minutes and then.
Yeah.
Julia, I think you have the microphone off. We see the microphone as off, so I don't know if it is open or not.
Hi, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
It was on, but I mean, it doesn't work. Sorry.
Julia, are you sharing?
I finished the presentation
Oh, okay.
because you missed some part of the presentation.
Yes.
A lot. Mhm.
A lot. I'm really sorry. Okay.
No problem. From a network-based solution and
Sorry.
the relationship with the circular economy from the slide.
Yes, we can say which is the last slide on which we lost you.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm sharing the screen.
Okay.
Can you see?
Yes.
It?
Slide 7, I think. Okay.
Yes,
This one. Okay.
So I briefly
Okay, thank you.
summarized. In this context, we underline the main lacks and criticalities of the proposed nature-based solution framework, because only two provide nature-based definition clearly, and moreover, only one framework describe in a detailed way the relationship between nature-based solution within circular economy. And moreover, for what concern the evaluation tools, they are mainly qualitative, and also the information provided are really dishomogeneous. So, I mean, there is no guidelines to propose a robust evaluation framework. So, in this sense, in order to overcome these criticalities, we proposed this methodological framework in order to collect nature-based solution according to building scale, different scale of implementation, and moreover, we collect them according to their most useful and appropriate evaluation methods. In this slide, okay. So in this slide, we can see the preliminary application of this framework to urban agriculture, in which we can list the most suitable evaluation methods like life cycle assessment, life cycle cost, and multi-criteria analysis. And moreover, we also put the sources in order to give some guidelines according to their application to real case studies. So in order to conclude really briefly, we can understand the main lacks and criticalities. So our object is to overcome them according to our new categorization framework. And moreover, for the future perspective, we also would like to collect other nature-based solutions in order to construct an operative tool to provide the basic and common knowledge to encourage interdisciplinary collaboration in order to implement and design nature-based solution for circular economy in urban system. Thank you for the attention, and sorry for the technical problem of before.
No problem. Thank you very much, Julia, also for concluding very briefly the presentation. Again, I ask if there are any questions in presence. Otherwise, I think we can move to the other contribution, because we lost sometimes, okay, for this issue, okay. Thank you very much again, Julia, for the contribution. Okay, the third contribution, I think, again, is a change in the initial order. Is proposed by Gabriele Paganelli, Camilla Misani, Letizia Soffiantini, Gabriele Masera, Francesco Pittao, and Giorgia Sugoni, and is entitled Evaluation of Land Use and Environmental Comfort in Reinventing Cities Competition, the case of La Folie, Bobigny. I don't know if the French pronunciation of the place is correct. I'm sorry. I will ask
it's called Bobigny. Yeah.
Bobigny. Okay. Thank you very much.
I wanted to ask, I have a problem with my camera. I don't know, it doesn't start, so I'm sorry. I'm not going to show myself.
No problem. You can.
So I'm going to start the...
Yes, I leave the floor to Gabriele Paganelli, who will present the work.
Just 1 second. Okay. Perfect. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gabriele Paganelli. I am a master's student at Politecnico di Milano in Italy, and today I'm going to present you the work that me and my colleagues developed together. Evaluation of land use and environmental comfort in Reinventing Cities Competition, the case of La Folie, Bobigny, France. So... doesn't go on. Okay. Rapid urban expansion occurs across many regions of the world, and this trend is expected to continue. It poses significant challenges, including environmental, socioeconomic, and spatial ones. The expansion of a city's perimeter is unavoidable until a certain point in its development. However, the continuous increase of urban limits cannot persist indefinitely. In recent years, greater focus has been placed on sustainable urban development and smart growth, which comprises different urban expansion principles as opposed to urban sprawl. Urban densification represents one of the most common principles, and in this paper we investigate the possible advantages of a desealing strategy applied to an urban densification process through a multi-level methodology analysis. Here we can have a look at the methodological pipeline that has been used to analyze the case study. The proposed methodology follows the 3 main phases. It starts with a problem framing, then we construct the alternative scenarios, and eventually we evaluate the problem of this the problem for the selection of the best alternatives. The area under investigation is located in the southern part of the municipality of Bobigny, in the northeast outskirts of Paris. The territory is situated in the small Parisian crown within the Île-de-France region and falls within the inter-municipality structure of Est Ensemble. Sorry. It went on. I'm really sorry. Specifically, the study area is part of the broader planning area of Plaine de l'Orc, a plain named after the canal that runs through the municipality of Bobigny. The project area was involved in 2018 Reinventing Cities competition, which proposed the development of a mixed-use commercial and residential project. As we saw earlier in the pipeline, after analyzing the site and the surroundings, a stakeholder analysis is necessary to identify and analyze the interests of organizations and individuals that can influence urban development projects. The complex challenges faced today, including rapid population growth, climate change, and resources limitations, necessitate addressing the diverse interests among stakeholders. Thus, determining which stakeholders should be involved in urban development projects poses a dilemma for decision makers. Mapping stakeholders is necessary, and the first step for doing this involves categorizing stakeholders according to certain attributes. This includes determining the scope of influence, categorizing their affiliation, and assessing the resources they wield. As previously mentioned, the area in question underwent the Reinventing Cities 2018 tender, through which the municipality of Bobigny decided to promote the redevelopment of the La Folie area. The allocation of the area was entrusted to the company Secano Aménagement, tasked with preparing it for subsequent development. Upon completion of the design phase and establishment of a purchase agreement for the area by the winning team, the project will be implemented through a public-private partnership. In this context, the winning team will bear all the consequences and remediation cost of the area, while the municipality will cover expenses related to the redevelopment project. Based on this scenario, the various stages of the process were identified. So once the stakeholders were mapped, obtaining a comprehensive understanding of their concerns and managing conflict requires practical analysis methods. In this research, a combination of the power interest matrix and social network analysis is proposed to evaluate stakeholders. Power interest matrix is an evaluation tool to categorize a stakeholder based on their level of power and interest in the project. By plotting stakeholders on the power interest matrix, project teams can ensure that the key stakeholders are effectively engaged. The involvement in the decision-making process is crucial for all other actors and the stakeholders, each with different degrees of engagement based on the quadrant they occupy. Social network analysis, on the other hand, emphasizes the intricate web of relationships between stakeholders within a network. By identifying and analyzing these relationships, it provides useful insights for improving collaboration, communication, and decision-making within the network. So strategic planning using scenarios has gained significant traction in recent decades, highlighting the need for more effective long-term policies. This integrated approach, designed to guide companies in formulating strategies based on realistic and contextually sustainable forecasts, can also be applied to urban and regional planning for adoption of sustainable policies and plans. In our study, the SWOT analysis has been paired with the STEEP analysis, offering a clearer understanding of the influential factors shaping potential objectives and transformation scenarios. This way, it was possible to recognize the distinctive features of the intervention area. Understanding the territorial context and its characteristics has been crucial as support in the critical phase of developing the dynamic SWOT analysis. Here is only represented a summarized version of the dynamic SWOT analysis, which introduces pairwise comparison between all identified elements, regardless of category, allowing for a more comprehensive understanding of relationships between and identification of predominant factors. The procedure involves creating a square matrix containing all identified elements, then conducting pairwise comparison between each row element and each column element. Then a value indicating the degree of synergy between the two compared elements is assigned. From the SWOT plus STEEP and dynamic SWOT analysis, three key factors have emerged to integrate into the design phase, with specific attention given to environmental goals, to the redevelopment of connections, and the creation of an attractive hub acting as a network for the entire Est Ensemble region. This has led to the definition of the following objectives: environment, connection, and network. Building upon the state-of-the-art identified through the SWOT plus STEEP analysis, along with the objectives defined earlier, various alternative definitions of future scenarios have been developed. The proposed alternatives, in accordance with the specification of the tender, include a scenario with 100% of the construction required by the tender, a scenario with 60% of the construction, and a last scenario with 40% of the construction. The first step of the last phase involved constructing a hierarchy diagram to define the project's objective and correlate it with the three previously identified alternative scenarios. A crucial phase in this process was the selection and identification of criteria and sub-criteria to assess the three established scenarios. To have a comprehensive comparison of the risk that emerged from the SWOT plus STEEP analysis from the perspective of environmental, economic, and social sustainability, the criteria of environmental health, comfort, profitability, and social fabric were identified. After establishing the hierarchical structure, the subsequent process entailed pairwise comparison using matrices. Firstly, all criteria were analytically compared with each other, followed by the comparison of subcriteria. Finally, each subcriterion was compared in the AHP analysis with the context of the three land use alternatives of 40, 60, and 100%. Afterwards, subjective judgments were quantified using numerical ratings ranging from 1 to 9, assigned in the ascending order of importance. After completing the analysis of pairwise comparison matrices, the optimal scenario has emerged, characterized by a preference for the option with a 60% construction rate. The definition of this scenario resulted from the weighted selection of evaluation criteria and subcriteria, with particular attention to factors such as environmental health, comfort, social cohesion, and profitability of the intervention. In conclusion, aspects such as ground coverage, building height, and spatial arrangement emerge as crucial criteria for the success of smart growth approaches in reducing land occupancy and enhancing environmental quality as well as soil permeability. The analysis does not delve into a detailed exploration of building height and spatial arrangement, but rather focuses exclusively on determining a percentage of built area that copes with the environmental and soil sustainability conditions. Furthermore, the sustainability of building construction also concerns construction methods, including materials used and construction techniques. It is crucial to ensure that the desired level of sustainability established through the chosen soil percentage is not comprised by factors that could contribute to an intensive pressure on the resources of the climate. All those aspects could be further analyzed and provide a more precise result. Eventually, the strong correlation between the selected criteria is seen in the closeness of the results in the final ranking. Nevertheless, the analysis revealed that assigning too low of a percentage of built-up areas, for example 40%, could limit the opportunities for economic and social development in the area, while too high of an allocation with the total construction could compromise the environmental quality, leaving comfort and social cohesion. In conclusion, based on this consideration, the scenario of 60% of built-up area emerged as the preferred option, striking a balance between environmental sustainability and economic profitability. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you, everyone, for your attention.
Thank you very much, Gabriele, for the interesting work. Again, as for the others' contribution, I ask if there are any questions in presence or online. Okay. Yes, there is a question online. Vanessa.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to congratulate with Gabriele for the interesting work, and I have a question for you. What are the advantages and the disadvantages that you have detected about the integration of more evaluation techniques for this work?
That's a really interesting question. So integrating so many analysis methods has been really useful to cover, for us to cover all the complexity of such a big intervention for an urban area in Paris. The difficulty for us has been to mainly to evaluate maybe in the stakeholder analysis really the role of each stakeholder that could place each stakeholder in the intervention, and their interest is since we did not have the occasion to communicate and to interact with the stakeholders, I think this was I don't know if I answered to your question.
Yes. And I would like also to conclude my remarks to give you a suggestion. If you can share again your presentation and moving to the slide about the ranking these scenarios, I have observed that there are two scenarios that are quite similar. The 40% built and the 60% built scenarios, they have very similar results. you have a 94% for the.
You mean this one?
Okay, yes, this slide. The 40% built is a 0.94 and your winning scenario is the 60%. In this case, you can add a bullet for your future perspective and develop a sensitivity analysis that is the fine-tuning step of the AHP in order to increase the robustness of the results. Why you have this difference of 6%, and you have to better motivate this final results or to come back in the evaluation during the pairwise comparison and better attribute some judgments. This is just a suggestion, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vanessa, also for an interesting question and the suggestion for the proceeding of the work of Gabriele and these other colleagues. Now I leave the floor to the other chair, Marco Rossitti. Marco.
Sorry, but we don't hear you.
Sorry, I had my microphone off. So we can move to the fourth contribution that is presented and is proposed by Vanessa Summa, Sebastiano Barbieri, Marta Bottero, and Caterina Caprioli. The title is Supporting the Planning Management of UNESCO Sites, a literature review between urban showcase and gentrification. The presenter will be Sebastiano Barbieri, so I leave the floor to Sebastiano.
Thank you, Marco. Sorry, I am also in Copenhagen for a conference. Do you hear me? Okay, I think yes.
Yes, Sebastiano.
Perfect, thank you. So I think the connection is not stable, so I'm turning off the camera only, and I share the screen. Okay. You see my presentation?
Sebastiano.
Yes. Do you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sebastiano Barbieri from Politecnico di Torino, and today I'm going to present you our contribution supporting the planning management of UNESCO sites, a literature review between urban showcase and gentrification, developed with Vanessa Summa of University of Bologna, Marta Bottero, and Caterina Caprioli from Politecnico di Torino. So today's planning challenges, particularly those related to tourism, are aimed at ensuring a balance, especially in those extraordinary places included in the UNESCO World Heritage List. So it is in this place that local authorities have seen a number of benefits arise, but also as the number of tourists increases, their management becomes difficult. So in this sense, decision makers, especially at the local level, are increasingly expressing the demand for assessment tools that can help them to ensure sustainable tourism planning over time. So after looking at this objective of the research, I will briefly mention sustainable tourism and explain the role of UNESCO in the protection and enhancement of cultural and natural heritage. Also explain what phenomena may be triggering by the World Heritage List candidacy, in particular gentrification. Next, I will illustrate the methodology used for the analysis and the tools that can be used to study gentrification phenomenon. And finally, I will summarize conclusion and next step of the research. Maybe I switch. Okay. Sustainable principle refers to the environmental, economic, and socio-cultural aspect of tourism development, and a suitable balance must be established between these three dimensions to guarantee its long-term sustainability. Thus, sustainable tourism should make optimal use of environmental resources, respect the social cultural authenticity of the host communities, and conserve their built and living cultural heritage and traditional values. Also, ensure viable long-term economic operation, providing socioeconomic benefit to all the stakeholders that are fairly distributed. So also, sustainable tourism development requires the informed participation of all the relevant stakeholders, as well as strong political leadership to ensure wide participation and consensus building. Achieving the sustainable tourism is a continuous process, and it requires constant monitoring in impacts, introducing the necessary preventive or corrective measures whenever necessary. So the concept of sustainable tourism is applied to management of UNESCO sites, but what is UNESCO and what does it do? UNESCO is a specialized agency based in Paris, founded in 1946, with many goals for the promoting of the culture, science, education, and so on. But especially one goal is the intercultural understanding of heritage that have exceptional value. To do this, UNESCO has created list and designation where sites that have a special value are included, and the most prestigious one is the World Heritage List. To become part of the World Heritage List, a site must demonstrate that can maintain and has an outstanding universal value, and this is why evaluation plays an important role in supporting the candidacy and also the management of these sites. So the recognition, the candidacy in the World Heritage List brings advantages for the registered good, but on the other hand, the surrounding area is a site of benefits, but also negative effects. One for the pros the pros can be summarized in tourism promotion and local economic growth, cohesion, and social inclusion, but also education and awareness about the cultural and environmental heritage, the creation of new jobs, and the cooperation at the national or international level to the sustainable development of the cultural heritage. But the cons, we can summarize the cons in the shifting of economic activity to the tourism or monosectoral activities, the reduction in fund used for the territory assets, complex management can be developed by the small municipalities, the increase of infrastructure and human works in the territory, and other outcomes such as the second houses, the Airbnb phenomenon, the loss of local activities, but specifically one that is gentrification. In particular, this research focuses on one of the most relevant phenomena for a community and for a territorial perspective, as gentrification has both economic and social implication. First of all, gentrification was introduced by Ruth Glass in 1964 to describe the physical and social changes in London neighborhoods, and authors identified different causes of this gentrification, starting from socioeconomic processes, but also economic process, and finally economic globalization. I reported that study by Cole which presents 6 types of gentrification, one of which is due to the tourism. As an example, he explained the case of Barcelona, where in the 1992 Olympic Games gave the city a way to develop very quickly, leading a great increase of tourism. So, in this context, many gentrification phenomena have been detected, and the local population are fighting to put a stop to this phenomenon. So, to better understand how the topic of the gentrification has been approached with the UNESCO nomination, a literature research was conducted on Scopus. So 3 different combinations were produced. The first one combining UNESCO gentrification and sustainable tourism, producing one document result. The second, combining UNESCO gentrification and only tourism without sustainable, and produced 21 documents. But the last one, UNESCO and gentrification, produced 40 documents. Among these, only 15 could be downloaded, so a more specific analysis on the content led to the exclusion of further 5 documents, bringing the number down to 12. Of these 12, 7 use exclusively qualitative methods such as cross-sectional surveys, interviews, thematic comparative analysis, and so on. And 5 documents integrated qualitative analysis with quantitative ones, such as statistical analysis, satellite analysis, or supported by spatial instruments such as GIS. So this is the map that summarized the location of the various case studies. As we can see, most of these cases are located in the south, where the gentrification process are most evident. And going back to the methodologies used for the various analysis, we can see that the most common used method is the interviews, found in no less than 6 papers. Also, statistical data are widely used, but sometimes supported by cartograms, while methods such as informal talks or focus group are less used along with the comparative analysis. So to better understand some of the methods used, here are 3 examples. The first, consider the case of Ibiza, and aim at the study of the phenomenon of gentrification through a statistical data analysis. And this analysis used demographic data and tourism data, and the results show that historical city is changing, both socially and culturally. But for this paper, the cause is not related to the candidacy itself, but also for other activity, especially the summer tourism that is very close to the city of Ibiza. Next, the another study is about the Georgetown intangible asset. The content analysis was used to choose the case study, while stakeholder interview and focus group were used to analyze the phenomenon. And the results show rises in rents and increase of pre-war property transaction, triggering gentrification in the city. The last case is studies the socio-spatial changes in the Valparaiso city, by analyzing satellite images. In fact, the integration of this analysis and statistical data have made it possible to verify gentrification trends. So, among the paper analyzed, there was a little use of method that studied the phenomenon from the pre-inscription stages. Instead, many of them studied the phenomenon in the ex post phase, with interviews, focus group, comparative analysis, and so on. Our suggestion is to use the appropriate analysis for the appropriate stage of the process. For example, for the ex-ante phase, where the problem needs to be framed and information gathered and classified, spatial SWOT analysis can be a very useful tool, together with statistical analysis, stakeholder analysis, and tourist carrying capacity. Rather, a set of multi-spatial indicators is most suitable for use in the itinerary phase, where indicators can be used to assess the state of the process and trends, and eventually to correct negative trends by changing strategies. As we have seen in the last phase, the methods used in the paper are very good at explaining the phenomenon from a point of view of repercussions, but also this kind of methodology should be used in management plans in order to assess the candidacy in every phase of the process. So, coming to the conclusions, there are several efficient methods found in the literature to study this phenomenon of gentrification, especially in World Heritage sites, and some of them, the use is growing. For example, the use of statistical analysis. Also, there is a lack of long-term vision in the evaluation processes, but also a lack in strictly quantitative methodology used in this analysis. Sometimes also candidacy fail to provide advantages to the area and provide negative aspects, such as one of them is the gentrification. So the future perspectives are to applying the proposed methodology directly in official plans, like official documents like management plans, in ongoing case study analysis, expand the literature to include papers that consider a phenomenon in each stage of the process, but also including new sources or databases such as Web of Science and Google Scholar. And finally, we want to examine in more detail other critical issues that characterize UNESCO sites, including commodification, alienation of local communities, and loss of authenticity. And that's all. Thank you. Thank you for the attention.
Okay, thank you, Sebastiano, for this very interesting presentation that deals with a very urgent topic nowadays, especially in a country as Italy, in which we have the highest number of UNESCO sites in the world, and so this is a very relevant topic. I don't know if there is any question from the room or also online. In case, I don't know if there is any question, I have a curiosity.
Yeah.
I want to understand. This is my personal opinion. I think that is not so much in the management plan that must be found the causes of the gentrification phenomenon. Maybe UNESCO is a problem in this sense. What is my curiosity is that if starting from your literature review that I know currently is limited to some specific cases, you were able to identify some common trends in the gentrification process related to UNESCO sites. For instance, there is the birth of new shops that are not based, are not run by local inhabitants, or there is the growth of the Airbnb phenomenon. I don't know. There are some common trends that characterize the UNESCO phenomenon, or the declination of the gentrification is different, and there are some differences according to all the cases.
Depends. There are similarities in UNESCO sites because we know UNESCO sites meaning increase of tourism. So increase of tourism is always a phenomenon that must be managed because an increase of tourism means an increase of the services that a site needs to give the tourist the most experience, the greater experience that can have. But yes, as we know, as we see, so from the literature review, so in some cases, it's not the candidacy itself that can bring to a gentrification, especially in the case of Ibiza that I show that okay, there is a lot of tourism in Ibiza. It's one of the most popular destination for tourism, but not for the candidacy itself, but also for summer tourism, for the beaches, for the night that are not related directly to the management, to the World Heritage Site.
Yes, I think that, for instance, this aspect is an interesting development line for future research about this topic.
Of course, and thank you.
Thank you so much for this presentation, and we can move to the fifth one that is proposed by Giulio Cavana, Giovanna Fancello, Cristina Becchio, Lorenzo Bottaccioli, Alessandro Sciullo, and Marta Bottero. The title is Renewable Energy Communities, an Urban Capability-Based Approach to Evaluate Differential Participation in Cities. The presenter is Giulio Cavana, that is in present. Hi, Giulio. We can see you. And so I leave the floor to you. I think you have to turn off your microphone. Okay.
Puoi uscire e aspetta. Ok. Non so se loro vedono. No.
Yes, we can see.
No, ma... Però noi non vediamo. Ok, forse riesci così. Sì. Do you see the slide change?
No.
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 No, vabbè, facciamo così, guarda. Vediamo. Così. So, do you see the slide change?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, thank you for the introduction. As it was said, I will present. Can you hear me?
Yes, Giulio.
Okay.
Yes.
I will present you the contribution of renewable energy communities and urban capability approach to evaluate the differential participation in cities. As we all know, cities has a great impact in terms of environmental impact due to their primary energy consumption that worldwide has a figure of 65%. While if you focus on the European level, we know that they consume as up to 40% of primary energy and are responsible for 36% of energy-related CO2 emissions. Two are the main strategies that are proposed by the European Union to reduce these figures. And basically, the first one is to reduce energy consumption through energy efficiency. Specifically focusing on this is the Energy Performance of Building Directive, while the second strategy is to improve the reliancy on renewable energy distributedly generated. That is the main focus on the Renewable Energy Directive. The final goal of these two strategies is mainly to achieve a zero-emission building stock by 2050. In this framework, one of the newest concepts that has been produced is the one of the renewable energy communities that are basically group of citizens and other entities that are that are entitled to produce locally, to consume and to share and to sell energy. In particular, energy community has been seen capable of bringing wide set of benefit ranging from economic, environmental, and social benefit from the communities itself and for the areas in which they operate. The main aim of this work is to try to frame the participation into renewable energy communities within the urban capability approach that defines the actual functioning, what a citizen decided to be in the city as one of the possible solution among the capabilities that are in his power. Such capabilities are a function of individual and external and contextual factors in which the individual sees himself or herself in the city. Therefore, we can see participation in a renewable energy community as possible to enhance the well-being of the population and the inhabitants, and therefore as one of the option in their capability set. The aim of this presentation is therefore to propose a methodology to evaluate the willingness to participate in a renewable energy community by the inhabitants, and to assess to which extent this framework could penetrate the urban fabric and could spread through the cities. As an outline of this presentation, I already went through a little background to present this topic. Then I will present the methodology and the first results of the application, while I will conclude with some next steps and the conclusion of the presentation itself. Coming to the methodology, the first step of it will be to try to evaluate the preferences of citizens throughout the city. And we can see, we know, from a formalized point of view, we can see the preferences as an order between two alternatives expressed by a citizen, a person, or a decision maker. So therefore, we can express them as the preference of yi over yj, for example. And thanks to multi-attribute value theory, we can define a solution and alternatives as composed by different sets of vectors of attributes, and the total utility of such alternatives could be described as the aggregation of the marginal utility perceived by thanks to each of these attributes that compose an alternative. This specific marginal utility could be described in a mathematical form thanks to the value function that are a mathematical representation of human judgment that has basically link the performance in one specific criteria on the x-axis with a range going from 0 to 1 on the y-axis, therefore to standardizing the performance of different attributes in different dimension and unit of measure. With this framing of the problem, we can then see the set order of alternative as expression of the judgment of an individual as to be coherent with the aggregation of the total utility perceived by this, the specific alternative in the value system of the individual itself. In this application, we're going to use the Utah methods to be able to pass from the order set of alternative to the marginal utility perceived by from each attribute, thanks to an estimation of the value function that could preserve the order expressed by the individual itself, as we can see from the equation in the bottom left, right. Second step that's gonna bring us to the spatialization of this system of values is the generation of the populations of a synthetic population across the city, and this is going to be done through the use of a procedure called the population synthesis that make use of a first data set of data, of vector of data, of socio-demographic data of the population that are characterized by a high geographical scale and high granularity, combined with marginal data that are characterized by a smaller geographical scale and a low granularity, and they give specifically on a sensor track the marginal distribution of social demographic data of the population. The process then of the generation of the synthetic population is to expand the data set of the seed data, matching the marginal data in a specific area in order to describe the population in a smaller geographical scale, but with high granularity of data regarding each individual. Next step of the methodology will be then to, thanks to a moderated regression, to define which are the socio-demographic data characteristic that we have to, with which we have to express our synthetic population in order to be able to jump to the fourth step of the analysis, that is the spatialization, that will be to join to merge the preference learned in the first step and to spatialize it according to the population that we have modeled in throughout the city fabric. For the spatialization, then we're gonna Sorry, it's a little bit shifted somehow. We're gonna then define, as I said, different class of population belonging to the entire population, characterized by different sets of value function in different percentage to distributed in different percentage. And we're gonna do the same thing with different other group of population characterized by different socio-demographic vectors. At the end, it's gonna be possible to evaluate which the percentage, the ratio of population preferring one specific formulation of renewable energy community in specific zones, determined by both the specific location and the specific performance achievable by the renewable energy community frame realization and the population itself. The application of this methodology is ongoing on the case study of Turin, and so far we are in the first phase of gathering data regarding the order of preferences expressed by the individuals. This has been done through by means of a questionnaire distributed with Lime Surveys platform, and is a typical questionnaire in which the first part is devoted to a first introduction of the topic and some general question. As a third part that will gather socio-demographic data, and the central part in which we focus more on the exercise that we call the respondent to do to specify his preference toward different possibility of renewable energy communities, and to express an order of alternatives that we will use to further evaluate the system of value of the population. Such alternatives are described by four KPIs: the investment cost, the energy bill saving, the avoided CO2 emission, and the energy self-sufficiency that could be reached by the particular configuration of the renewable energy community. And to define those alternatives, a first literature review has been conducted on Italian case studies, reconstructing those scenarios proposed in those papers, in order to gather 89 scenarios that are further analyzed by k-means clustering and another manual passage, in order to extract 8 possible alternatives that has been proposed to the respondents. The first set of results from the first bunch of questionnaires that we gather are in the form of, as you can see, of a data set in which the respondent would express his preference towards a different configuration of the renewable energy community in the yes or maybe category that we have considered strictly ordered, in the sense that what the respondent has answered as he was willing to participate would have been preferred to what he had expressed as he was maybe willing to participate. Those system of preference has been then can be represented in this graphical form, and by applying the Utah methods, we can define different value functions that preserve the order expressed by the respondent itself. We can here see the configuration of value function in 3 segments, and we encountered a little bit of a problem when we try to experiment with more segmented value function that would still be coherent with the system of value of the respondent, but not so coherent from an evaluation point of view. Therefore, for 2 main reasons. First of all, the alternatives, the orders are the order pairs are quite few, so our predictor is quite unable to find proper value functions, and we encountered a lot of plateau. Therefore, we decided to introduce dummy variables that are strictly dominated by the alternatives that we have proposed to the respondent in order to reduce try to train better the algorithm, while introduce also another set of dummy alternatives in the discontinuity point of the value function in order to avoid the formation of plateaus. Of course, those are coherent with the system of order expressed by the respondent due to the fact that they are basically always dominated by one of the alternatives that the respondent decided to participate in. And as we can see, the value function take a quite better estimation, and they are coherent with the system of the order expressed by the respondent. We can see it for the first respondent that we analyzed in the previous slide, and also for the second one. So they are still not perfect due to the fact that the algorithm is not still perfect, but maybe will not be, but so far they are coherent and could maintain the order of the preferences expressed. The next step, as I showed you in the methodology overview, is then to, first of all, to improve the number of respondents that we have, because we need to reach different category of socio-demographic category spread throughout the city, and to go through the step 3 and 4, and therefore to apply the linear regression in order to get the socio-demographic characteristic that has an influence on the value function of the respondent, and to go further with the construction of the synthetic population. As a conclusion, framing these the participation of citizens to renewable energy communities within the capability approach would give us the possibility to understand what is the expected spread of renewable energy community throughout the city, depending on both the specific condition of the urban fabric in terms of the building stock, and in terms of what is the population that we can encounter in different areas of the city. And an expected result would be to be able to propose different solutions to decision makers, the public decision makers, and also the private companies like ESCOs and so on, in order to bridge those gaps in which when we encounter a misalignment between the possible results that we can technically achieve in terms of renewable energy consumption reduction and renewable energy production with the willingness to participate of the inhabitants. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Giulio, for this very interesting presentation. I think that this is a timely topic nowadays, these energy communities, and you addressed it in a very accurate way, also from a methodological point of view. So I thank you for this. I don't know if there is any question from the room or from the web here, from online.
Yes,
Sebastiano, maybe?
if I can, I have a curiosity for Giulio. Thanks, Giulio, for the presentation. It is a very good work, and I have just a curiosity. In your opinion, what were the main pros and cons of using the preference learning, especially in terms of amount of data needed and the level of detail?
Well, actually, because because of the aim of the study to being able to basically map throughout the city the possibility or not to participate, preference learning that is mainly devoted to basically most of the time devoted in this the application to evaluate the value function could give a good way to map those this value function across the city. The fact of needing a lot of data is for sure a flaw, because usually that is more applied in on bigger data set of observed data. So most of the time you have time series or bunch of data that you can directly analyze. One of the main problem is to gather the data specifically on this topic of a renewable energy community that is not so common nowadays, and there is a lot of there's few there's few interest maybe in the civic societies in the population. Rather than on higher level of decision making, and for this reason, the gathering of data and the amount of data needed is a problem. But on the other hand, it will give more insight of what could be really done, and also, this link with the socio-demographic characteristic could help in terms of actual specialization of those data.
Perfect. Thank you.
I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah, perfectly. Thank you.
Yes, Giulio, I have a curiosity about the linear regression, because you said that you want to apply as future perspective a linear regression to understand which is the impact of socio-economic factors on this aspect. But which is the independent variable in the linear regression for you? The dependent.
In that case, it should be the total utility of the alternatives. So we're gonna basically use these KPIs again, trying to apply the moderator and to understand which social demographic. Of course. I'm sorry, I'm just repeating your question. But yes, the independent variable would be the total, the final total utility perceived for each alternative.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. It was just a curiosity to understand better. So, if there is no any other question, we can move to the last contribution that is proposed by Marta Bottero, Federico Dell'Anna, Sara Monaci, and Simone Persico. The title is Geo-NLP Insights, Unveiling Residential Real Estate Trends Through Textual Analysis, and it is presented, I don't know, by Federico?
By me and Simone Persico.
Simone Persico. Okay, perfect. So I leave the floor to you.
Okay, I try to share the screen. Maybe I have some problem. Simone, can you share the screen? Otherwise, I need to go out and come back online.
Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I will tell you next to go on, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good day, everyone. And today, with my colleague Simone Persico, I will share this joint research. This is an ongoing research that aim to integrate the natural language processing and geospatial data in order to analyze the residential real estate trends. This application will focus mainly on private residential real estate market. Next, please. So after a brief introduction, we will discuss our objectives, the goal of the specific goal of understanding market trends by this innovative approach. Following that, Simone will present to you the methods used in our research. This part will detail our approach for the implementation of the proposed methodological framework. And finally, Simone will present also a preliminary application of the framework and the results. At the conclusion, I will present the future perspective of our research, our study. Next, please. So, as said before, our approach employ advanced natural language processing technique in order to analyze, understand the consumer preferences, starting from real estate listing, wrote generally by real estate agency. In this study, we would like to integrate this artificial intelligence technique with geographic information system, in particular to understand how different regions and localities can influence the consumer preferences for real estate properties. And with this approach, with this new approach, we would like to provide more informed decision to different stakeholders that can be interested in this approach, like investor, urban planners, and policymakers. Another innovative step that we would like to integrate in this methodological framework is related to the inclusion also of the temporal dimension. So we would like to integrate textual data, spatial and time information in order to offer a global view of the urban real estate market, enhancing the more traditional approach used in this field of application. Next, please. So we try to go beyond the simple property information in order to analysis, in order to provide more useful insights for the development of sustainable urban context. In particular, we would like to understand how the preference of consumers, of the clients of the real estate agency can provide insight for the design of the city. In particular, in order to understand major decisions regarding land use, infrastructure investment, and housing policies. And in this framework, we propose the application of the natural language processes. That is a very innovative approach in order to face this challenge. Next, please. So, starting from literature review, we highlighted different impactful ways in order to face this problem, this issue, and we identified that three are the main problem faced in this field. In particular, the analysis of the text and the application of the sentiment analysis in order to understand the market trends and buyer interest, the integration of temporal data, in particular in order to consider the response of real estate market to economic cycles or external events, like, for example, the COVID-19 pandemic. And finally, the integration of spatial modeling with NLP. But despite this interest in the application of this approach, we didn't found studies that integrate all of these this issue in the same framework. So in this study, in this research, we focus just on it. In particular, Simone now will present to you our methodology and the application to the specific case studies.
Thank you, Federico. Hope you can hear me. I will start with the methodology to step later on our specific case study. The tools we used are called Cortex for the natural language processing phase and GEFI for the network analysis. Our pipeline starts from data collected about real estate listings, where each announce contains a plain text, a description, and geographic coordinates in latitude and longitude format. The preprocessing phase consists in preparing this semi-structured data for the analysis, and in our case, we clean the text and we also group the ads by proximity in sub-areas that we call the microzones. In the natural language processing phase, we extract from each announce the most peculiar terms, ranking also them by frequency and specificity, mixing those metrics, those main metrics. And in the next phase of network mapping, we mapped together the nodes with geographic information, with the geographic coordinates, together with the terms extracted to later move on the second tool that is called GEFI, is specific for network analysis and has some possibility to perform spatial analysis. We basically fixed the position of the geographical nodes, algorithmically ordered the term nodes, and adjusted the label terms, also ranking them and showing them based on the specificity metrics, and finally cleaning the graph to keep only the map of terms that it could seem confusing in here, but it will be clearer looking at the specific case study. Our case study is based on Tarin, where the dataset contained more than 80,000 real estate listings over a period from 2017 to 2022 that we split in two parts, the pre-COVID phase and the post-outbreak. In this case, we had the 45 microzones that were already defined, and we extracted for each of the two periods 150 to 200 terms. And this is the overview of the result, where we also classified the terms based on characteristics extracted from literature, showing toponyms, intrinsic characteristics of the apartment, or extrinsic characteristics of the building, together with citations of services, green areas, and so on. So basically, those maps are meant to be explored, as they basically describe each zone with a word cloud and allow to compare different areas. For example, in here we have a zoom of the pre-COVID period that shows a lot of interest in the violet labels, the intrinsic characteristics, and some attention on the blue services in some area, in some other area. While in the next period, the post-outbreak phase, it shows a little bit more of attention on the services. For example, in the upper part of the map, we can see Polo Lavazza, which is one of the last important investments in the city of Tarin. Or maybe also in the bottom part, we can read double glazed windows that are inherent recent incentives for the energetic efficiency in Italy. And basically looking and comparing those two maps, what from the exploration and comparison over time, the expert could be able to extract some useful knowledge. Now I'll leave the floor back to Federico for the conclusion.
So thank you very much. So it is possible to understand that this approach empowers different stakeholders, from developers to investors to urban planners and policymakers. In particular, for real estate agents and marketers, this approach can provide strategic marketing strategies in order to understand the current buyer sentiments and preference for housing. For urban planners and policymakers, can provide a comprehensive market analysis in order to understand how the urban infrastructure, for example, the proximity to a park or to a metro station, can match with can meet the community's current future needs. And finally, for investors, can provide more informed decision in order to understand the specific characteristic of housing for the construction industry, in particular for residential real estate market. Next, please. However, our research is not without challenges. As said before, this is an ongoing research. Today we presented just preliminary results of the application of this methodological framework that we proposed, and we would like to improve this and expand this model. In particular, we would like to integrate more advanced machine learning algorithms in order to help us in the cleaning and pre-processing approach. And we would like also to integrate sophisticated semantic analysis, in particular in order to analyze the word combination or some phrases used in a local context of real estate market. Otherwise, we would like also to understand how this approach could be useful in other urban contexts. We would like to test this framework in other contexts that face, for example, rapid changes in real estate landscape. And we would like also to analyze the different real estate market segment in order to test the model on, for example, commercial or office real estate market, in order to obtain a more comprehensive real estate dynamic insight in a specific city. So, for reason of time, we will go not in detail to conclusion, but we hope that the insights shared have sparked your interest and understanding of the transformative potential of our methodological framework and real estate analysis. We are now open on any question or suggestion.
So thank you, Federico and Simone. I found this presentation very interesting because it opens to the potentialities of artificial intelligence in the real estate market. That is something that we have to face in following years. So it is really, really interesting. I don't know if there is any question also in the room or online.
Yeah,
Vanessa,
we have a question from the room.
Okay, also in the room. Okay. Vanessa, if it's okay, we start from the room. I don't know, as you prefer.
Of course.
Okay.
Hi, Simone. Hi, Federico. Thank you for the presentation. May I ask you a curiosity, maybe? Have you tried also to modify the date, the time in which you split the data set in order to check for, I don't know, for like the how to say?
Temporal preferences, we can say somehow. So how change over time? No.
Yeah, from what time the outbreak of the COVID impacted
Yes.
the. I mean, yes, the buffer, the temporal buffer between the event and the modification of some particular things that you have found in your dataset.
I can try to answer to this question. Thank you, Giulio. So for the definition of the time rack, we just take in consideration the Italian government directive provided during the COVID pandemic period in Italy, and we split the data set that we had available that ranged from 2018 to 2022 into periods. In particular, we take in consideration like reference year for the break, the 2020. That is the period in which the year in which the national government in Italy provided this directive for correlated to restriction for go out and so on. This is the main reason for used in this first preliminary application. For the future, for sure, it could be interesting to analyze the economic cycle of the real estate market in order to analyze the difference in the time in this context. But given the very short period covered from our data set, it is not possible to analyze economic cycle for now. Maybe for future we can do it. We can do it. Thank you for the question. I don't know if I have answered to your question, Giulio.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Vanessa, I don't know if you have a question. I think that we have to close in 5 minutes because later we will start,
but you can go ahead and close the session, I think.
Okay, so we are at the end of this session. I think that the presentation of today perfectly met what was our purpose of providing different multidimensional methodologies to deal with different issues and complex territorial systems, because we moved from UNESCO, so heritage sites, to urban context with different issues ranging from energy communities. Again, we started to deal with the artificial intelligence topic. So I think that it was a discussion full of interesting points. So I want to thank all the speakers and also my colleagues who shared this session with me: Caterina, Federico, Vanessa, Giulia, and Marta. And I hope to see you next year.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Ciao Franci.
Scusa, avevo il microfono spento.
Sì, ti perdono. Non mi funziona la condivisione schermo.
Vediamo se a me funziona.
Aspetta, entro.
Sì, sta condividendo. Sì, ok.
Eccoci.
Eccoci.
Vedi il mio schermo?
Sì.
Ok. Boh, perfetto.
Ma dobbiamo aspettare o...
Hi all, we are waiting the chair. I think it's a virtual tool like you, and we are waiting you for starting. Yeah, no, just a few minutes, and maybe we are waiting the chair.
Thank you.
Come stai, Franci?
Bene, bene.
A posto?
Tu?
Bene. Sì, sì.
Okay, here we are. Sorry for the delay, but we don't found the chair. So now the chair is Dimos is here, and maybe you see from the camera. This is the camera. Yeah.
Okay. Hi to all. I'm Dimos Pantazis. I'm professor at University of West Attica. Welcome all. Sorry for this delay, but we have some technical problems. But Giuseppe Barroso is not here. I will replace him. I hope with success. You have two on the line.
Yeah, but I think the Andrea presenting the last two.
Yeah, I will present both. Yeah.
So you are all here. Okay.
Yeah.
You can start with Francesca. Yeah. Okay, Francesca, the floor, or better, the screen is yours. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I am Francesca Sinatra and I'm from University of Trieste. I'm doing a PhD on circular economy. And today we talk about a project that we developed with the COSELAG, which is a public economic body of the territory of Trieste, and the University of Trieste with my supervisor, which is Giuseppe Barroso. Starting, we can say that territorialization, circular economy, and industrial symbiosis are represents today key concept in the context of industrial areas. In present days, in industrial settings and plants are characterized by growing attention towards sustainable development, and the process of territorialization are more and more meant to address a responsible use of natural resources and also territorial planning in order to maximize efficiency and reduce environmental impact. This challenge involves creating a connection where industrial areas develop clusters with interconnected businesses, establishing proximities to leverage synergies, share resources, and expertise. In this context, industrial symbiosis and circularity can be facilitated by cluster, which can contribute to sustainability. The purpose of this study is to address circular economy and industrial symbiosis in a spatial and analytical framework, proposing a combined methodology of addressing the spatial organization of industrial areas and involving the use of GIS in the visualization and the analysis of an industrial area, with a particular focus on the case study of industrial area in Trieste and more in depth the area of the consortium. We can say that the industrial location theory, the theory developed by Weber, formulated based on the optimization of production cost, we can say that he identified three key factors in the localization decision: proximity of raw materials, proximity to consumer markets, and accessibility to transport. So companies, according to Weber,
Francesca, excuse me, I'm the chairman. Who hear you very well. The question is, can you enlarge the screen in order to see better your transparency? Because somehow you cut.
Okay.
Okay. More. Okay, more, please.
Okay.
This is the maximum? Yes. Now it's fantastic. Okay.
Thank you.
You can see better. Thank you, Francesca. Sorry for the interruption.
No, perfect. Thank you. Weber identify three key factors in the localization decision. So, for example, proximity to raw materials, proximity to consumer markets, and accessibility to transport. So, the companies which need to try to maximize and minimize the costs by moving to places that offer an optimal balance between these factors. In this paper, in this work, we propose an extension of the classical Berber models that it was developed in other projects of industrial localization, and this can be adapted to host circularity. This was studied and applied to the case of construction and demolition waste in the Maser project that we will talk about later. This implies a change of paradigm, as the place of production was location is central in the original Weber's theory, becoming also a place of origin of second raw materials. In this sense, this modified model could be interesting for both considering new location for processing waste and also for favoring rise of new materials, new materials or businesses given to the proximity of different activities. As a consequence, is necessary to precisely map the potential actors that are involved in this process, and this requires a deep work of data organization, also through geographical analytical system like GIS. The area under study corresponds, as I said earlier, to the industrial zone of Trieste, specifically the area of competence of COSELAG, that includes portion of municipalities, as we can see from the figure, of Trieste, Mugens, and Rovigo della Valle. These municipalities are located in the region of Friuli Venezia Giulia in Italy, and consequently in northeastern Italy. And this study area results as a strategic point of view, not only for its geographical position, but also for an industrial and logistical point of view, because this is given by its proximity to the borders of Slovenia, Austria, and Croatia, and being the port a crucial hub for international trade. The ultimate goal of the consortium is to contribute to economic growth and the creation of jobs within its territory. And its strategic position, crossed by important roads, highway, and railway connections, allow joining the port of Trieste with the European need, making it a fundamental node. COSELAG focuses on the adoption of industrial symbiosis and circular economy strategies to address the problems related to sustainability. Also through the launch of an initiative and revitalize the industrial area of its competence. This economic public body, taking also into account existing environmental issues and challenges through the development of with the Friuli region and the European Union. It develops two main projects, and the first one is called APEA, Ecologically Equipped Production Areas, which is a project that is promoted by individual regional consortiums that aims to apply the principle of circular economy within production areas in order to obtain data on environmental status and energy consumption. The second one is called ECOL, which stands for Eco-Industrial Park Network for the Alpine regions, leveraging smart city and circular economy, which represent a project that is meant to implement and try to find a solution to the problems faced by the industrial parks in becoming integrated circular eco-industrial. For what concerns the case study, As a part of this study, we used the data which was provided by the consortium itself, so which allowed the data to be processed in aggregate form. Indeed, with the COSELAG, we develop a geographical database process implementing an analysis. Localization in this sense can provide a spatial idea of their location and spatial distribution, with reference with the companies that are in the territory of the consortium. The data provided concerns these companies. They gave us an Excel file which contained the different information as name, address, contacts, sector type of the companies, and a TECOD code, which is the code that identify the activities of the company, the size of the company, and finally also the number of employees. In order to conduct a more in-depth analysis, this file was analyzed, and we start the main objective of this study is to understand what the synergy within the study area could be. And for this reason, we target an analysis that use a series of filters available within the Excel file. In the analysis, we have excluded sector as the wholesale, trade, transport, and the logistic, taking into account the company which have production. Consequently, this company were about 146 company. Subsequently, we identify and we carried out another analysis, excluding the small enterprises which did not have a very large production, obtaining a final sample of 100 enterprises. On the practical side, my maps was used, which is, we know that is an application that allows the development of an interactive mapping in order to organize and obtain geographical representation of data, which can be used with the GIS tool. The map that we can see in this slide give us a clear overview of the localization of the company and their surroundings, allowing a better understanding of the arrangement of industrial activities. This is essential to identify potential synergies between companies, encouraging collaboration and maximizing the use of shared resources. The present study has therefore tried to develop this map through the use of QGIS that emerges as a fundamental geographical informative tool for the analysis of the distribution of activities carried out in the consortium area. Also, the methodological approach is similar to the one development in the MESAR project, which stands for Materials for Sustainable and Construction and Infrastructure, the Recycled Aggregates project, which is based on the core principle of the circular economy. And one aspect of this project was the introduction of cluster analysis, in which is essential to take into account the spatial constraints, where the distance between the plants and the place where secondary raw materials are used must not exceed 30 kilometers. The Miser map, which we can see in the figure in the slide, allows the construction of a map that binds the Weber's theory in a circular view. Also, given the willingness and interest of the consortium in sustainable practices, the latter has carried out a series of interlocution with its companies in order to evaluate the opportunity for the expansion of production sites, and with in particular references with a dialogue with one of the company, a need for the use of lemon processing byproduct generated by the processing of liquors has emerged. Until then, the lemons were used exclusively for the outermost part of the skin, while the rest of the product was no longer used, and thus because a waste of production for the company. Consequently, the consortium has explored the production system of its industrial area through ad hoc interviews with companies that were interested in the waste production of the liquor factory. And then, thanks to the development of the industrial symbiosis strategies, unused parts were categorized as byproducts, stored, and in most cases given as a gift for individuals to individuals for food use, to farmers for agricultural purpose, or at worst disposed of a waste. This synergy allowed the company to remove lemons continuously without having to find someone to give them away or occupy warehouse space. It turned out to be an optimal choice from an ethical point of view and environmental also, since, as indicated by the interview, dispose of lemons was seen as a real waste for the company. Also, as a part of this research, a meeting was organized with the entrepreneur of a company which is located in the consortium district. The interview was carried out due to the fact that the company began the demolition of works of one of their buildings. From this demolition, the waste generated they tried to recover most of their reusable materials for the construction of their new plant that will be raised a few kilometers from the old. In doing that, the company is taking different steps to implement the circular economy in practice, as, for example, the analysis of all material present, as like iron, asbestos, obtaining a detailed mapping of the whole area. Strip out operation will take place during demolition and involve the preventive removal of all elements from the building structure, which must be handled differently. This phases enables the effective management of waste materials by directing them towards the proper disposal and recovery process, preventing dangerous waste from being mixed with inert and recoverable materials. Also, the remediation of asbestos in other areas, and then the cement analysis will be done to establish their typology, and these analyses were done before the demolition. Concluding, in the near future is expected to we expected to focus more this research on synergies between companies with the industry within the industrial area of Trieste, trying also to have a more in-depth collaboration with related companies. This approach can not only lead to a better management of resources, but also to a greater competitiveness of companies in the industrial area. Also, the limit of these works lies in its evolution. In fact, it is a developing project which through its implementation will enable us to obtain more precisely data to assess the benefit of this approach in industrial area. Also, it will provide us an holistic view of the positive implication that can be achieved, paving the way for future decision and action to promote good circular practice. Thank you for your attention.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Francesca. I don't know if there is a question from your Italian colleague concerning your.
No, I take part of the building of this paper, so for me it's everything clear because we work together.
It's clear, okay. Francesca, I have two small questions for you.
Yeah.
First of all, I was very impressed. I mean, not impressed. I was. It reminds me a phrase that you put it, Weber's theory. Weber's, okay? And I have studied a lot of things in my career. I'm engineering. I'm also teacher for children 6 to 12. I study also post environmental protection and water resource management in Federal Polytechnic School in Lausanne. I study information systems database in the University of Lausanne. I did my PhD in geographic science in the University of Liège. My postdoc in anyway. Amongst all this, I remember that I have studied also 1 or 2 years economy studies. And in economy studies, I remember when I said Weber, I remember a professor of economy that put a table with weights. And the weights goes from one side to the other of the table, and it was different weights, and in the middle it was something where you will be balanced. This is the Weber theory. I remember I said so many years passed and Weber theory is still alive. And I say impossible how the knowledge, I mean, never. So I'm wondering if this Weber theory, as you use, as understand, is a way to be, let's say, all this criterion and weights to be, let's say, informatized, computerized, I mean. So to have different weights, different criteria, and to see where finally will be.
I think so, because the Weber's theory, the extension that in the Maser project were done of the Weber's models allow to analyze the area within clusters. So it can be, yeah.
Yeah, not only because we'll see in the next presentation something like that, and the way to understand that and to informatize that, it is using kernel density estimation based on where are the source located. So you could use a density map or where is located the different stores, and then you could find and go deeper, analyzing where are them and how to use that and implement and find the optimal solution about the location, about the resource, raw material location.
Okay, this will be very interesting to see. So I saw that, I remember Weber's theory. And the second one, this is very important for us because I see the region that we were talking about. It is near to the frontier of Italy, Croatia, etc. So I'm wondering your proposal, your proposal and your methodology and all this thing. something that you could apply someone else, those principles, those methodologies, because you know, Greece, you need collaboration with all the Balkan countries. Let's say you have Bulgaria, you have North Macedonia, you have Albania. It could be these principles be used in order to have some kind international industrial zones.
Yeah, it could be interesting to study. I don't have a perfect answer to this question because it is not studied and investigated in this field. But it's really interesting to apply this method to all different countries and construct an industrial international zone. So it could be. It could be.
It could be. Okay. Thank you very much, Francesca. Good luck for the continuation of your research. I wish you success. And let's pass to Andrea with two presentations. Andrea, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think that right now you could see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me introduce myself. I'm Andrea Gallo. I am right now a PhD student at the University of Trieste, as the same of Francesca. And I won a postdoc in the University Ca' Foscari of Venice. And we are here to present this paper entitled Smart Port City Relation, a circular port city development model for the city of Trieste. And we have written it with Francesca, that is in connection with us, with Ginevra Valletto, professor of Cagliari, of urban planning of Cagliari, Professor Giuseppe Boruso, and colleagues Salvatore Dore, also from the University of Trieste. So from where we start, it must be pointed out that this paper arises from some similar criteria that has been presented by Francesca just a few minutes ago. And so we start by the consideration that we have to adopt circular economy principle into the port context to become more and more central organization into the development processes of port areas. Then the study proposed to investigate the different dynamics of development in the ambit of the port-city relation, starting from a circular economy point of view. So we have to recycle, reuse the different source, not only of energy, but also of raw materials and etc. Under this point of view, we applied the consideration about circular economy from a macro level to a low level. So from a macro level, it's going to consider waste materials and aggregates as a second raw material that could be used in various port infrastructure development projects. And to do that, we manage the idea that we consider the port master plan and the strategic operational plan of the Port of Trieste do it give a look to what could be the different investment dedicated in new project and new development of the port, and then trying to make some consideration related to the circularity of these processes of development that we could have into the port context. So what are the materials that we are going to use? As first, we consider, as we mentioned before, the concept of circularity, the circular economy, starting from the idea that the port-city relations are characterized by a huge amount of different interdependencies between the organic size of port. So we have to consider that a port is a central part of the city that follow determined development strategy and trajectories inside of the relation between port and city. And in the last decades, port have worked to implement their sustainability also. So we have considered also the development of all the strategies that has been implemented in port ambit. That could be, as instance, the part related to the smart grids and to the electrification of the docks and the quay, and so on and so forth. And then we have also to consider that the transition to a circular economy in ports is based on three main pillars. And the first one is the energy recovery. The second is the recycling and reusing of the materials. And the third one is the creation of new flow of value goods. And on this point of view, we also pointed out that the industrial symbiosis, as presented by Francesco just a few minutes before, could have a good importance in this ambit. And so we passed to the methodology that we adopted to develop this concept. So we start from the analyzing of the port-city relationship in the ambit of the development proposed by Bird in the 63, do an evolution of the Bird Anyport models, where we take into account also the hybridization. And this concept has been developed by Professor Giuseppe Boruso just a few years ago in few papers, and then expressed in more detail with the help of Professoressa Ginevra Balletto, that is following us. And starting from this concept that describe a city more and more related with the economical zone close to the port, to the port inside of city context, we analyze the possibility to make some industrial symbiosis in this context, and then we arrive to other consideration about the circularity in location. That also in this case, it's pretty fun. Retake some consideration just presented by Francesca a few minutes ago, because we are working together on this topic. And then the last part is to develop a port city symbiosis matrix, where we consider the port cities relation, the relation between the port and the transport systems, the relation between the industrial area behind the port and the zone around the port, spread around the port. We consider the presence of free zone, and then the value added in this paper is that we also consider the possibility to implement the circular economy in the port ambit. And so we decided to take into account a case study about the port of Trieste. Why? Because the port of Trieste represent an interesting case study for because it's an important environment once we talk about port for what is happening with the rail transport, because we are implementing a lot the rail transport. There are a lot of new development projects, that could be, for instance, the Pier number 8, that would be a new container terminal inside of the port of Trieste that would be able to manage like more than 1 million of containers per year, of TEUs per year. And so in this, under this framework, we decided to analyze the port master plan and the 3-year operational plan to try to catch what could be the different strategies that the port of Trieste is going to adopt to develop, also taking into account the consideration related to the environmental sustainability strategies. So we found we could divide the investment in different categories. That could be the arrivals infrastructure, the implementation of the arrival infrastructure, the implementation of the port infrastructure, so the logistical part dedicated more to the ships and also to the warehouses. Then we take into account the energy and environmental projects that could be, as presented before, the electrification of the quay, the green ports consideration, as could be, for instance, the installation of photovoltaic panel on the rooftop of the different warehouses. Then the heritage and the conservation of the goods presence inside of the port context, and then other supply of services inside of the port borders. And then what would be our consideration? We must point it out that the investment that is going to be put inside of the port of Trieste would generate on one hand a flow of waste materials, because due to demolition, for instance, of some buildings, of some warehouses, and etc., or from the dredging of the seabed, for instance, that could generate a flow of secondary raw materials that could be processed. and then could be reused inside of the port ambit for the new development. And so, under this point of view, we take into account all the different investment, on one hand, as before, into the demolition part, and on the other hand, for the new realization, for the new opera that we want to going to build inside of the port context. Then we take the Maser map just presented before. Why? Here it is important to point it out that we take into consideration this map because the Maser map presents the batching plans, the queries, the waste disposals, and the plan to treat the raw materials. And so that could be important because we could analyze the geographical conditions where we are going to process our material inside of the port context. And it is important to point it out also in this case that we have a range of distance where it is economically to process these materials and to be used inside of the development of Port of Trieste. And so also in this case, we take into account the Weberian theory related to the to the treatment of this secondary raw material. But also, and that as we said before, as I mentioned before, the secondary part of this study that we didn't present yet because we are already working it will be related to the using of a kernel density analysis to try to catch where are the optimal location of these treatment plants or where you could find the secondary raw material and process it. And then we arrive to the port city symbiosis that we presented before, the metrics that we would like to use in this paper, where we take into account, the port city relation inside of the framework of the burden import model, the transport. So how does transport affect, on one hand, the waterfront, the port area, the semi-periphery, and the periphery, related much more to the logistical infrastructure, the transport infrastructure. We take into account what are the industrial area behind of the port and where the freights, the goods are processed and generated and so on and so forth. We take into account the presence of a free zone inside of the border of the port and in analyzing the relationship between the port and the city. Also because for the case of the Port of Trieste, we have something of unique because we have a free zone that is not connected directly with the port, not only directly connected with the port, but there are some areas just in the backport areas of free zones. So where also making economic activity could be useful and optimized. And then also we consider, just to conclude, the consideration related to the circularity in economy and into the economic process in port context. Arriving to the conclusions, if the port cities of the future would be sustainable, the port must aim to reduce obviously it's clear, their negative environmental impacts and externalities, and increasing the local and social benefit. Then, from this study, we could highlight how the city-port relation represents an important example in terms of symbiosis between the economic processes and in relation with what could be the physical location of the resources. And finally, the approach that we use, and we have seen also in the previous presentation, would lead to an economic efficiency in terms of long-term benefit, but also for the rise of new business opportunity in the zone of the port, has happened, for instance, and it is an important case study, the case of British American Tobacco that decided to put an industrial plant inside of the free zone of the port of Trieste. And I think that I've got to conclude this presentation. I'm here for any kind of question. We'll be more than happy to try to reply to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Andrea, for this very interesting presentation, which is very practical. It has, a usability, an obvious usability. The question that I would like to ask you because, as you know, Greece and Piraeus and Thessaloniki, you have important ports. Piraeus, I think, is now the third of the Europe because of COSCO, because the port of Piraeus has now COSCO by China. So the question is, in practice, all your research and your results and your framework, how, it is easy in Italy to pass from your research office to the organization that could eventually use all this. This is the question. Or will be a technical or a PhD, will be in the library. That's all.
We decide to bring on this consideration because Professor Balletto and Professor Baluso already follow something similar and this similar approach in the case of Sardinia Island for the building of a new stadium in Cagliari. This is the main city of Sardinia. And we said, okay, maybe we could see if we could try to replicate what happened there, where a real and a visible circular economy flow happened, okay? And we said, okay, maybe we could try to replicate something of similar in the context of Trieste that is on the other part of Italy. But not only, it's really difficult because there is a lot of problem related to the policies. There is a lot of problem related to the permissions of building, of using, etc. Yeah, of course, we know that, for instance, right now the port of Pireo, it's probably the first port inside of the Mediterranean basin. So also a new development, and it got an important development in the last 15 years, the port of Pireo. So the idea to try to catch some circular flow inside of a port as the port of Pireo could be useful, but can be also complicated at the same time. So right now we are presenting some considerations, some ideas. Something is happening because Francesca presented before some case study more focused on something that is happening and on what it is right now. It's working, but then to pass from a scientific idea to a practical application could be a little bit difficult. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I got it. And maybe you need to work this all as academics, as scientific people to develop the relation not only with private companies that must be done that, but also with organization, with local governments, that it is important to use this material, which is our job, at least to be informed about that exist years and years, people, and not take decisions like that after a meeting of 1 hour, 3 hours, take wrong decision for something that people spend 4, 5, 6 years in order to analyze and have an opinion that is based on really hard work.
I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. And it is clear that also the economics component of this flow must be taken into account, because if it would be anti-economical, probably people would decide to shift to other way of managing the new building and the new operation, also without taking into account the sustainability of the processes. So yeah, fully agree with you.
True. So you give you again the screen for the third and the last presentation, the second presentation for you, the third for the session.
Give me just a second that I'm opening it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, here I am. Okay, here we are. I think that you could see in this presentation right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. In this case, we are going to investigate the relationship between the land use and the wealth for the different Italian provinces. I don't need to introduce myself anymore, but this paper has been written with Professor Giuseppe Boruso that is following my PhD path with Francesco Magris, that is a full professor of economics here in Trieste, and with Professor Nicola Pontalolo, that is a professor of economics in Brescia, in Italy. What are we going to talk about in this paper? So this paper takes into account the relationship that could be between the economic growth of a country and the environmental sustainability. And the focus is settled on the interplay between economic prosperity, urban development, land use in Italy for the different provinces. So the challenge, it is a pretty challenging studies. But here the idea is that there could be an inverse relationship between the growth of the GDP, the domestic process, and the land use and the per capita land use inside of the different provinces in Italy. So several studies have been already conducted about this topic. Why? Because the implication on the land use, on the overall environmental sustainability, it's pretty important, both on the local communities, and that has happened when they contribute that the growth of the land use from a country contributes to the biodiversity loss, the soil erosion, the increasing in terms of greenhouse gas emission, the contamination of the water, the increase of the susceptibility to the extreme events as flow and growth, and so on, etc. So it is pretty important to analyze first how the growth in terms of land use and land consumption, there is a topic already that is pretty taken into account, for instance, by the works of Turner, but also from the same Nicola Pontalolo that has written this paper with us. Pretty clear that there is a strong relationship between a growth in terms of land use and implication on the environmental sustainability. And so, what is our idea here? Our idea is that we start from the setting of the context. We take into consideration all the different provinces in Italy, and we based our study on the data provided by us by the ISPRA, that is the major institute for the protection and research about the environment here in Italy. In their studies, said that there is a trend, an increasing trend of loss, like 2.2 square meters of land every second in Italy. Okay, so we are impermeabilizing the soil a lot, and data demonstrate that there is a substantial rise in land consumption per capita in Italy. And this is bringing an important transformation of our territory. So, under this point of view, we are growing at a rate that is higher than the European rate. And so that could be important also in terms of urban sprawl that is happening in different regions, as for instance, Lombardy, where we know that Milan is an important center, as Veneto, as Campania. And all these considerations have been already pointed out also in the context of ICCSA in the past years, into the works of, for instance, okay, I don't remember, sorry. It's already been pointed out of the problem related to the urban sprawl and to the artificial land cover. So what did we do and what kind of approach we use here about the methodology to try to understand the complex relation within land use and wealth? We decided to use the techniques of the spatial autocorrelation. I meant to analyze the spatial distribution of this phenomena, of what is happening in this phenomena. So we take into account the Moran index, outlined with the format that you could see here, that provide the presence of spatial autocorrelation. And in particular, we use the local identifier of spatial association, the LISA, to carry out the studies, where we know that the LISA index proposed by ANSI in 1995, regarded as local moral indicator, and we could have different cases that could emerge from the use of the Lisa index. The first one is that there is some high value of the phenomena and high level of similarity within the neighborhood. Then you could have the inversal relationship, so low value of the phenomena and low relation with the neighborhood. And then there is the two different intermediate cases that could be low value of the phenomena but high similarity with the neighborhood, and on the other hand, high value of the phenomena but low value with the neighborhood. And the last case that there could be any kind of significant autocorrelation between the different places. So we started collecting data about the land use and the GDP per capita in Italy, taking into account also the dynamics related to the environmental cousins curve that pointed out that there is an inverse, a U-shaped inverse relationship between land use and GDP per capita. And we take into account the historical series for the different for the 107 different Italian provinces for the historical series from the 2016 to the 2021. These provinces, it's clear, are based on the industry of classification by the Eurostat. And also, we must point it out that the Italian framework is subject to a lot of spread in different dimensions passing through the different provinces, because there are a few provinces where there is an important a high rate of land use, and on the other hand, there is provinces where this rate is pretty low again. And in particular, this contribution is based on the variation of land consumption per inhabitant for the different years of our historical series, based on the data set provided by ISPRA, so the institution, the research institution that we presented before, and with the logarithm of the GDP per capita, reported in euros at 2015 constant price, where the GDP deflactor here was taken from the World Bank. And we got this data from the ISTAT database, so the Italian Institute of National Statistics, to get the GDP per capita. And what could be the result? Okay, as first, we could see using a gradation map that in absolute value per inhabitants, there is a strong use between the 2016 and 2020. There was an important trend, visible trend, to use much more and more and more land in the southern part of Italy. And then on the other hand, the northern part of Italy was subjected to a trend dedicated to stay stable in terms of land use and land consumption, and to grow much more into the southern part. Something of difficult to understand happened in 2021, because the data is concluded in 2022. In 2021 happened something of it could be difficult to understand, that happened that in the northern part of Italy, the trend totally changed, and happened that the northern part of Italy retake to growth a lot in terms of land consumption, and the southern part of Italy stays stable or decreasing in terms of land use. So there is an opposite trend in terms of land use. Firstly, since the 2016 year of starting of our analysis to the 2020, and then from 2021, everything totally changed. But also we have to consider that the 2020 is the year of the COVID-19. So we have to consider what happened during the COVID-19 in Italy, and also the policies that have been adopted on a national level, as for instance, the National Plan of Recovery, due to the fact that could give and it could be expressed in a way to start development new houses and etc. After the COVID. So the COVID could represent a problem of this kind of analysis. And now we arrive to the definition and to the using of the Lisa indices. And also in this case, we could easily point it out that since the 2016 to the 2020, there is an important trend. Sorry?
No, sorry, I think is a colleague that enter in the session
Okay.
and
Don't worry. We said that using the Lisa index, it is clear that we had the same dynamics that we presented before about the absolute level, where in the first year of the Hans analysis, we have a low concentration of the phenomena of the land use into the northern part of Italy and a strong use of the soil into the southern part of Italy. And then totally changed during the 2021 after COVID. So that is pretty curious. And also it's curious, and we have to point it out, the relations with the GDP for what happened in Italy and for the distribution of the GDP per capita in Italy, where we could see that there is several hotspots into the northern part of Italy talking about the distribution of the GDP, and there is some cold spot into the southern part of Italy talking about the GDP. So there is an important economical difference between these two parts of Italy, and it is clear and it is very interesting, in my opinion, to see these two pretty important difference between these two parts of Italy. And also this represents a social and economical problem for the entire economic situation of our country. And so arriving to another conclusion, bringing together the result of the spatial analysis regarding the distribution of the GDP and on the other hand of the land consumption, it is clear that there could be an inverse relationship between these two indicators. Why? Because if we see at the graph at the bottom here, we can clearly see that the northern part of Italy has a higher value of GDP of the logarithm of the GDP per capita, and has a lower value of the variation on the land use per capita. And on the other hand, the southern part of Italy, that is the gray part of the graph, has low GDP per capita, low income, and high level of land use. So it is clear that we could point it out that this kind of distribution have an inverse relationship between land use and GDP per capita. So to a high level of GDP per capita stands for low level of land use variation. And on the other hand, low level of land use variation, high level of land use variation stands for high level of GDP per capita. So it is clear, and we could point it out, this clear convex relationship or inverse relationship between these 2 points. And that is indeed what we want to demonstrate with this paper. And in conclusion, the empirical evidence of this analysis, there is this unexpected relationship between the GDP and the land use. And I think that could be the most important fact that we pointed out during this study and through the use of the Lisa methods and the Lisa indicator to carry out this analysis. And also we must highlight that the choice to use land use as a proxy of the environmental degradation stands for the environment got behind some important social and environmental implication, both in terms of, as we said before, contributing to the biodiversity loss, greenhouse gas emission, and etc. And so the spatial analysis is able to catch the impact of the land use change, both in terms of interaction with the neighborhood, but also in terms of social and economical dynamics. So I think that could be interesting to analyze, repeat the difference between the social economic dynamics in relation to what's happening on a proxy of environmental degradation. And I think that's it. Also in this case, if you got any question, we would be willing to try to respond to you. And here we are.
Thank you very much, Andrea.
Thank you.
All the presentation was very, very interesting because I related with practical problems and perspectives of where the directions of the economic decision could be done, where could be conducted. just I don't understand something in your conclusions that really, really I have maybe I don't understand the framework of that. You said finally that if you have big differentiation in land use, you have big
low GDP. Low GDP. And that is strange, or better, that could be the problem here that we carried out is that you could imagine that a higher level of GDP would stems for a higher level of land use, because it's clear if I have a lot of money, I could spend a lot to build a new house, for instance, or a villa or a castle, wherever I want. I mean, what we found is exactly the contrary. We found that a higher level of GDP stands for lower level of land use.
Yes, yes, okay. In my opinion, and I will explain why, I think this is the logical thing.
Okay.
Why? I will tell you why. If you have, and this is why it would be very interesting if you present also the land use exactly, the classification.
Yeah.
In order to see exactly what you mean by land use, classified in big categories, and maybe after the big categories is smaller categories. But to know exactly which are those land use. I will tell you an example in order to understand my argument. You have a region, and you have in this region, some regions are private forest, a little bit, a small one. After you have some olive trees. After you have small areas with tomatoes. After you have an areas with, I don't know, lake with fishing. And after you have a small one. So this doesn't necessarily conduct to a high GDP. Why? Because if you have a big area and you have scale economy and you have a big area with olive trees, in this case you will have bigger GDP and you have low land use, but this low land use, this that you call monoculture, this is what happened in the United States, and this who have big GDP. On the contrary, if you have a small cultures, small difference land use, this means you will have lower GDP. So the result is logic in my point of view.
Okay. Oh, okay.
No, you could say things in the right manner because
I want to reflect on your point. Thank you so much. No, it's a good consideration, of course.
Okay, because this is the point. I mean, maybe you have to integrate it to the perspective of your research.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Francesca. Bye from Hanoi, Vietnam. Hope to see you one day close.
It's a great pleasure for us, and we hope to see each other in presence next year, maybe. Because we really appreciate your effort and your being a chair here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye to all. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.